Hey there, great news! The Sega Game Gear Micro has finally released in Japan, and we're gonna check it out. Oh, wait, sorry, that's not quite right. The Sega Game Gear Micro has finally released in Japan, and we're gonna check it out. That's right, everybody! In case you didn't know, Sega has released the Game Gear Micro in Japan, and they've done it a little bit differently to other micro consoles. They've released 4 different models, each with 4 different games. You have the traditional Black Game Gear, which features Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone. You then get the Blue Game Gear, which features Sonic and Tails, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvian Tail, and Baku Baku Animal. Then you have the Yellow Game Gear, featuring Shining Force Gaiden, Shining Force Gaiden 2, Shining Force Gaiden Final Conflict, and Nazu Puyo Ale no Ru. Then finally, we have the Red Game Gear, featuring Megami Tensei Gaiden Last Bible, Megami Tensei Gaiden Last Bible Special, Game Gear Shinobi, and Columns. And in case you think these Game Gear Micros are a little bit on the Wii side, if you pre-ordered all 4 of them like we did, you actually get a little magnifying screen. Woohoo! But are they worth it? There's only one way to find out. Let's do a quick unboxing and then test out these bad boys and see how they play. It's time to open up the box and check out what's inside. But first, let's look at the packaging. It is loosely based on the design of one of the variations of the original Japanese Game Gears. You can see it's got different logos. So, for example, it's got the Go Sega 60th anniversary. It has the +4, which tells you about what games are in there. So that is kind of loosely based on some of the original Japanese box art, which if it came with a game would say +1, for example, and tell you the game. On the back, you've got it's list the names of the games with it. So you've got Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo Puyo 2, Outrun, and Royal Stone. So yeah, I guess let's crack open the box and check it out. So the box is sealed at both ends, and if that's visible, I do happen to have a handy knife with me, so let's try and get that. Okay, get that in there. Okay, that's done it. So try to open it without damaging the box too much. Lovely. So can you see there? You can see the cardboard packaging inside. Out we have. Hey, so first off, we've got a little manual, by the looks of it. I have no idea what the original Japanese Game Gear manual looks like. It looks like this is more based on the Game Gear Micro, which is cool. So I love this. I love this sort of artwork, this cute Japanese style artwork. Little cautions: don't drop it, don't get it wet. Apparently you can paint it, I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks good. On the other side, looks like more functional instructions and stuff about it. I can't see a word or read a word of Japanese, so this does not really help me so much. But then we've got the main event, the actual Game Gear. So take it out. There we go. So there we have it. There it is in the flesh, the Game Gear Micro. And let's check it out. So let's check out the back. On the back, my understanding is that little label there is it telling you what games are in there. So it's a bit like having a cartridge in the Game Gear Micro. And we've got, on the top, we've got this way, volume control. There is a little notch there which doesn't seem to serve any purpose. Headphone jack, micro USB charging point, and power on-off switch. I should actually point out the charging point is not actually to charge batteries in there. It is so you can actually plug it in to play the Game Gear if you want to that way. But it does also take AAA batteries, so you can use AAA batteries or power it directly using micro USB. It also doesn't actually come with any charging cables or batteries. That's generally fine though. A lot of people will probably have micro USB cables. I know I've got tons of them at home. They're standard ones you use on a lot of Android phones, for example, and other devices. And AAA batteries are very easy to get hold of and pretty cheap. On the front, we've got, I don't know if you can see that there, there's actually a little speaker, which is in the same position as the original Game Gears. You've got the D-pad, the Game Gear logo, buttons 1 and 2, and start, just like on the original one, and of course the screen. Now, before we actually begin playing the games, I wanted to check something out. I wanted to compare it directly to the original Game Gear. So here we have the Micro in its box, and this is my original Game Gear. So the size is pretty noticeable. When they say micro, they do mean micro. And I mean, the basic front buttons are pretty much exactly the same by the looks of it. The only thing missing is the power light indicator, which you have on the original one. You do have the speaker still, the D-pad, buttons 1 and 2, the start button, and then on the top, for comparison, so you have the same red power button. The power supply itself is a different type, but it's still there. Now that's interesting. They've actually moved the headphone sockets. The headphone socket on the original was over here. It's over here on this one. That's the cartridge for the original one. This one doesn't have a cartridge, but as I mentioned before, it's actually got like a sort of fake cartridge in there. Then on the original one, you have an extension. So it's one of those, it's like a networking cable almost that you could plug in connected to other Game Gears, so you can play 2-player games. And then you have the volume control, which is in pretty much the same position on the Micro, although the Micro one, it's thinner, but seems to be slightly wider. So that's a little bit interesting. Other than that, yeah, they've just got the model number on the original Game Gear and everything else. But so yeah, it's not a huge amount of difference really. The carry sort of bits to put on a strap are in a different position actually on this. So the Game Gear Micro is just in one corner, so you could put it in, make it into like a key ring, whereas on the original one it's a bigger strap. I don't actually have a strap though for that. So there you go, that's the differences. But you can clearly see the Game Gear Micro itself just fits pretty much in the screen of the original one. It's tiny. Comparing it to like another Sega handheld from the 90s, I have the Sonic the Hedgehog LCD game by Tiger Electronics and Sega. And comparing in size to that, yeah, it's still, it's just teeny. So let's see how it plays. Okay, so it's time to check out how this game plays. So I've already put in some AAA batteries in the back. Let's turn it on and see what happens. So, okay, the screen is quite bright, so it's a bit hard to focus on the camera. Let's check this out. Okay, so on the title screen, I guess, you've got the 4 games that you can play as. You've also got a little options menu. I can't read Japanese, so this means nothing to me. Yeah. Okay, if you press 1, the button 1, it changes the games to a spine view, so like they're on a shelf, so you can select a game that way, or front ways. I mean, that's a nice little touch, but not really essential or helpful, I guess. And let's play Sonic 1. Okay, so before you start the game, it gives you information on it by the looks of it. Yeah, I think that is the release date of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Game Gear. So, yeah, giving you a little bit of information and history about the game. It's been a while since I've played this game, so let's see if I'm in. Oh, no. Oh, damn it. Okay, so not. Oop. Woo! Oh, I forgot how fast this game can go at times. Wow, it's insane. Oh. Okay, that's just finished the first level. I forgot how quick you could actually go in Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Game Gear. I don't know if it's coming out okay on the camera, but surprisingly on the screen it is actually very sharp. The camera might be making it a little bit fuzzy, but it's actually a very good clear picture, which I'm pretty impressed with. The audio, I guess compared to modern consoles, is pretty tinny, but it's pretty similar to the original Game Gear one from what I can tell. One thing I'm surprised at, though, is there is slight slowdown in the game. And that was in the original Sonic on the Game Gear. It was actually slowed down. So I'm surprised they haven't sort of done something with that. I know it's, you could argue it's replicating the original exactly, but it would have been really good to see like some improvements there. Oh, but it is surprisingly playable, even though I keep screwing up. It is surprisingly playable. Oh god. Okay, I'm going to pause it there. I am going to test out one of the other games, maybe on one of the other Game Gears, so let's give that a quick try. Okay, so I have now unboxed all my Game Gear Micros, as you can see, and given them a test on all the games. And I did actually plan to do an unboxing of the Big Window Micro, but that became a bit tricky because the actually putting together the Big Micro window was a little bit awkward. And now I put it back together, I can't really take it apart. It's very tricky. It feels like it actually might break. It's very, I wouldn't say it's flimsy, but the plastic is quite thin in areas. And now it's in place, it's kind of clipped in and it's a bit awkward. So I could give you a quick mini demonstration of it, I guess. So I've turned, yeah, the yellow one's got the batteries in. So I'll show you without the micro window on. So, okay, you can probably see that. You actually slide it on. So once it's clipped in, you can actually just slide it on. You don't have to clip it any other way. It does have a pretty cool little hole there if you do want to use headphones with the Game Gear Mini. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. It does magnify it a little bit. So that's it in comparison. It's not a big magnification though, but it is noticeable on some of the RPGs such as Shining Force or such, where you have lots of text and little icon boxes to select weapons or attack and spells. So it is a little bit helpful. But yeah, so that is the Big Window Micro. It's handy, but it's not essential, I think. So, how does the Game Gear Micro actually fare up? At the end of the day, the game's actually very playable, surprisingly playable in fact. The controls are actually really nice, the button presses are very accurate. Yeah, it's a bit awkward when I was trying to show it off before, but that's because I had the camera angle at a weird place and standing awkwardly, but when you actually sit down and play it, it is actually really good. The audio is pretty decent. When you're putting headphones in, it's actually very good. It's nothing new over the original Game Gear though, just to point that out. The sound quality is basically the same as the original. But yeah, generally, actually very, very playable little device, despite its size. I mean, just to re-emphasize, original Game Gear Micro, tiny. And in fact, just talking about the size, one great comparison, which has been around on the internet for a few weeks actually, is compared to the Dreamcast visual memory unit, the memory card for the Dreamcast, and there's the Game Gear Micro. It's actually, I'd say, it's actually a fraction bit smaller than the Dreamcast memory unit, and the screen itself is actually a lot smaller as well, as you can probably see. So good stuff is, I think it's got some standout games with the whole collection. So some standout games for me would be Sonic the Hedgehog 1, the Shining Force games are really good. Sylvian Tale, which is on the blue Game Gear Micro, that is a great game. It's like a Zelda kind of style game, like adventure game, top-down view, really good, really enjoyable. I've actually played it before on the original Game Gear. I don't own it, but it's really good and really fun. They've also got the Game Gear Shinobi, Gunstar Heroes. The whole selection of games is actually very good. And another great thing is the batteries last longer than like 2 hours, which, if you remember, if anyone remembers, the original Game Gear took 6 AA batteries, and it lasted about 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours playing a game, which is rubbish, especially compared to the original Game Boy, which is kind of why the Game Boy kind of won a little bit, because it was more portable. With my Game Gear, I used to have to plug it in most of the time. Just popping in a couple of AAA batteries, it does last for hours. In fact, I didn't run out of juice with my AAA batteries that I've got. And I've got some cheap ones in here, so yeah, actually really cool. But the problem is there are some downsides to this. While they are cute, while they are cool, quite nifty little devices, there is the price. So the Game Gear Micro for each different one will set you back 4,980 yen, Japanese yen, which is about, in English money, it's £35, just over £35 at the moment. For the Americans, it's about $46 to $50 roughly, and that's per unit. So for 4 games, effectively, and a little device, £35, $50 nearly. It's quite expensive. And for the full bundle, where you get all 4 of them, if you pre-ordered, and you also get the little big window micro magnifying thing with it, that was about 21,912 yen. Which was about £155, or is it just over 200 American dollars? So again, pretty on the more expensive side of things. And when you compare that to the Mega Drive Mini or the Sega Genesis Mini, in fact, I've got my own right here. This, when it was first launched in the UK, was about £60. In America, I believe it was about 80 American dollars, and it has 42 games in it. So while the price of this on its own is more expensive than one micro, it is way better value, because when you get all 4 Game Gear micros together, there's only 16 games, and it's more than double the price of that thing. So arguably, something like that is a much better buy. And you've got the Super Nintendo Mini, the NES Classic, you've also got the PlayStation Mini, which I know wasn't the best, but price-wise comparison, you're getting a lot more value in these bad boys. So these are more of a little bit of a collector's item, I'd say. Other bad things about it is the games on these are not upgraded in any way. There's no state saves, no improved emulation. So for example, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, the original Game Gear version did have slowdown in certain areas, especially when things got a bit frantic and a bit frenetic. And the same slowdown happens in this game. It's not improved in any way. There's no improved emulation, which is a bit of a downer. And for the price, you kind of expect it'd be great to have some little extras, so just state saves or something like that. There are the games like some of the RPGs, like the Shining Force games, which do have save files on them, which is good. They still have those, so you're not without saving on the bigger games. But the games like Sonic the Hedgehog 1, if you only want to play it for like 5-10 minutes, you have to either leave it running or turn it off and start all over again, because as far as I'm aware, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Game Gear doesn't actually have any level select, at least not one that I could find or can remember. Another bad thing is, if you're really into your RPGs, like the Shining Force games, or you've got like the Last Bible games, but you don't know how to read Japanese, you might be a bit stuck without a guide, because these games are all pretty heavy in the Japanese. There's none which have lots of English in them, like some Japanese games do. I mean, that's to be expected. These are ordered from Japan, so I can't really fault Sega for that. Just something to bear in mind if you were looking at buying these. The Game Gear Micros are actually very cool. They are cute little devices, and they play really well. They're really fun. The games are great on them. You will get hours of joy from playing them. However, with the lack of state saves and any extra features at nearly $50 a pop for each unit, you kind of would expect something a little bit extra. And ultimately, I feel like Sega has missed a massive opportunity with this. So if you're looking to buy these for a little bit of nostalgia, for a little bit of fun, maybe to give a mate, it's kind of hard to sell it, really. So right now, I'd say these aren't really worth the entry fee for most people, unless you're a massive Sega nerd or just a big video game collector. And I've definitely seen worse things to have in a video game collection, but for the average person, it's really hard for me to recommend these. They are really cool, but yeah, that price and what you're getting for them, not necessarily the best deal really at the moment. So great try by Sega, but I think we were kind of all expecting or hoping for something a bit more, really. Cheers. Oh, and by the way, if you have managed to pick yourself up a Game Gear Micro or 2 or 4, let us know. Let us know how you're getting on with them, because if you think they are really worth the entry fee, fantastic. I really hope you're enjoying them. If you think you're agreeing with us, let us know that as well, because it's always interesting to hear that. So, cheers.